So how are your preparation about the findomega.com? You all have prepared some or part of it.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
How
sir.
many groups in all
Yes.
would be there? Because out of 107 who have joined Google Classroom, usually somewhere between 70 and 75 attend classes. So still there are about 25 plus 7, say roughly 30 are not around. So you have formed the groups of 5.
Yes, sir. We
Yes,
have formed the group.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. We have formed a
yes,
group of
sir.
5.
You have formed the groups of 5. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Anything you wish to know, or shall I proceed with the day's session? Today is day 14, and I'll take up. In fact, I had noted what we were supposed to do in Calcutta Motors, but I'll be, going ahead with what was for the next day. It was about the closing entries. Now, just to connect with what we have been discussing in the past with the present one, just try to recall that we started with recording the business transaction in journal. Then we prepared ledger and a trial balance was prepared. Usually with the trial balance, most of the students of accounts would have prepared a profit loss account and balance sheet after the trial balance was prepared. This is what usually is discussed. But the procedure requires that closing entries are to be passed, then profit loss account and balance sheet is to be prepared, and then opening entries are to be passed, and the process continues. So to follow the procedure, you have a trial balance which has some balances in debit side and some balances in a credit side. Isn't it? This is what you have. Now,
Yes.
in order to proceed, one of the options was that students of commerce would have been doing prepare profit loss account and balance sheet. So I'll take one more step, explain to you about the closing entries, and then and thereafter we will prepare the profit loss account and a balance sheet. Now, here in this slide, I have asked you to refer to page number 63, 68, and 72 of the teaching material. Do you all have that teaching material with you right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You
sir.
Yes,
all,
sir.
you all
Yes, sir.
must be having, and you all must have. So we look at page number 63. Go to page number 63. You will find in this page a trial balance. This I had explained to you earlier also. You look at serial number 17. What is it?
Miscellaneous expense.
Okay, then it is clear that this is expense. Look at serial number 10. What is it?
Automatic Electric Limited.
Okay, the balance is in debit side 15,000. What is it in terms of all those 5? Asset, capital, liability, expenses, and revenue. What is it?
So it is no balance.
So there is no balance.
There is no balance in automatic electric. Which balance is 50,000, 15,000?
Mehta
Sir,
Associates.
Okay, I'm reading it wrongly. Sorry. Mehta, there is no. Sorry, in Mehta, let me put in a scale. So Mehta, there's a balance. So how much balance is there in the account of Mehta?
15,000.
15,000. Which balance is this? Debit or credit?
Debit. Debit.
Debit. So what is it? Is it asset, capital, liability, expense, or revenue?
So it should be expense.
Expense.
So why should it be expense?
So because in the earlier summary we saw that they were paid for their professional services in relation to RCC work.
Okay. So what? What is an expense? What is an expense?
Just spending on something which does not stay with us for at
More
least
than
one accounting year.
period. More than one accounting period. Correct? The effect is
Yes,
over
sir.
then and there. So if against Mehta, against some person, debit amount is written, it would only and only mean that the balance of person is debit in our books of account. He is our debtor. We have to receive money from him in next accounting period. Or at any time he wishes to give, he will give us money. So if the name of a person appears, it is not an expense. Expense means like salaries, like wages, like rent, like goods purchased, like interest given, like rent, like taxes paid, like advertisement paid. So these are all expenses. So this account is our asset.
Asset.
And name of the asset is
Debtor.
debtor. Correct. How about this serial number 3?
Ready Mix
Ah.
Co Limited.
Ready Mix and Company Limited, 64,800. What it is?
Credit.
It's a creditor.
So broadly, it is a liability, and name of liability is
Creditors.
creditor. So what you should do now, against each, write down one of the 5, either asset or capital or liability or expense or a revenue. Do it. If not now, maybe later. Now go to another page, that is page 68. Page 68. Once again, serial number 1 to 18 are given. What is serial number 13?
Income tax paid.
Income tax paid.
What it is?
Expense.
Or debit.
Expense.
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 Expense. What about serial number 16?
Creditors.
Creditors.
What are these?
Liabilities.
Liabilities.
Liability.
We may write L against this. How about bank loan? Serial number 8.
Liabilities.
Okay. How about serial number 3?
Purchases account.
Expense.
Expenses.
Expenses.
How about serial number 10?
Returns out.
So returns.
So liability.
Increased.
Okay, let me first explain meaning of return outward and inward. The meaning of return, something that you return, give it back to somebody. Outward means what? You bought something and you returned. Only then it will go out of your company.
Yes, sir.
Outward refers to purchases returned. Okay. How about return inward?
So sales return.
You sold goods and people are returning it to you. Similarly, another concept to be explained, serial number 11, carriage inward. Meaning of carriage, So if the carriage is spent on purchase of goods, it is known as carriage inward. If the carriage is spent on sales of goods, it is known as carriage outward. So what are these two? Both of them together? Income, expense, or what?
Expenses.
Expenses. So against each one of them, you can write E. Okay. How about return inward? What it is?
So we sold something, but it came back. It was returned
Yes,
to us.
return inward. You sold, but the person whom you sold it to returned.
So it would be a loss.
Okay, loss then. But we are classifying them into 5. Asset, capital, liability, expenses, and revenue. When you sold, it was your revenue.
Revenue.
When it is being returned,
So it will be asset.
Yes, it would be added in the stock.
it will be added in the. I'm asking you, if you wish to classify it as one of these 5, what you should do?
Sir,
Sir,
it will
if
be
we were
in
returning
asset.
and it was expense, then and it was revenue, then when it is returned, it should be expense.
Expense.
Going-
You're right. But it should be expense. And vice versa should be done for return outward. When you bought, you considered as purchase your expenses. When you are returning it,
Revenue.
Your revenue. Procedurally, it is not done the way I am saying. Procedurally, you write sales 1 lakh. From sales, you subtract whatever you returned. You write 10,000 as returned outward, and then 90,000 will be taken as the final calculation. In the final calculations, 90 will be counted, neither lakh nor 10,000. So this is how we do it. Now again, go back to now against all these 18. Once again, you need to write A, C, L, E, or R. All those 18 would fall into any of those 5, either A or C or L or R. Correct? Then you move on to page number 72. Again, there are certain items. I have serially numbered them from 31 to 42, say about 12 items. Yes. How about first one? Office equipment.
Asset.
Sir, asset.
Asset.
How
Yes.
about, how about third one?
So supplies would be
Sup-
expense because they are
expense,
for
like CF supply हुए हैं.
reselling.
How about the second last?
Sir, it is given expense.
Expense
Expense.
plus salaries and expense. Yes, sir.
Above that, revenue from services.
Sir,
Revenue.
revenue is
Revenue.
profit, so it is
It is revenue, correct.
revenue.
Correct, fine. So now in all, I have counted them starting from page 63, 68, and 72. First job you should do is to serially number them. Serially number them. Once you do, you will end up with 42 items. How many?
42.
42. Once the class is over and you get time, okay, sit down and against each write down either A or L or E, whatever. Ultimately count them. How many A, how many C, how many R, how many E, and how many L are there. The total of all those should become 42. I have numbered them, so I'm saying total of all those would become a number. You keep it ready. 42. Page number 63, there are items. 68, there are items. 72, there are items. If you total all of them, they are 42. If you classify into asset, capital, liability, expense, and revenue, let us say 5 will be asset, 10 will be liability, 20 will be expense, 30 will be something like that. In such a way, the total will be how much?
72.
42.
42, sorry, 42.
42.
So what I have asked you to, that see, if you do it now, we will be taking time. So I wish to explain to you more than asking your time here. So you do it, but do it as soon as possible. I'll ask you what next shall we be required to do. Has everyone noted down or written his or her roll number in the chat box? Some of you are joining even now. So write your roll numbers. I think last one to write was Divyang. Okay. But see, again, you should not do like this. You are joining at 8:14 and this is not desired. Do it as soon as you can. Better. Okay, let us go back to the next step. Read it, what I have written. Trial balance has got several heads of account. Not all will be carried forward to the next accounting period. Hence, those need to be closed, passing the closing entries. Next question is, what are those heads of account which we need to close? That is, we will not carry forward them to the next accounting period. So what would be those accounts?
Sir, expenses.
Expenses.
And
Revenue.
revenues. Somebody said
Sir.
liabilities. Somebody said liabilities. Is it correct that liabilities also need to be closed?
No, sir,
No,
we
sir.
have to settle them even if they are carried into the next accounting
See,
period.
even if we don't talk about the accounting, just we leave about the accounting for the time being. We talk in an ordinary language. You owe something to somebody and you are maintaining the records. Should you close those records unless those are paid?
No, sir, no,
No,
we
sir.
cannot.
Means if something is to be paid, it will be carried forward to the next accounting period. So expenses account will be closed and revenue accounts will be closed. Okay. Next question that I wrote, why? Why should these be closed?
So because they do not carry any effect on the next accounting period. Our
Also,
assets
sir,
and
Fine, 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 fine. Anything?
carry.
Okay. Any other answer?
also, sir, their effect will already be seen in capital.
Okay. Anything else? Now your answer should come as a student of accounting. Okay. You should explain in accounting language why should revenues and expenses accounts be closed.
Sir, as far as Arma just told that they have been accounted in the equation when we do the left hand and right hand side.
Any fine, got it. Any other explanation other than Danish?
Sir, to know the financial position of the company.
Okay, Karan has said we want to know the financial position of the company. Anyone else?
Sir, because that belongs to that particular accounting year.
Okay. Your answer is 50% correct. You need to
Yes,
add
sir, the periodicity principle should be followed. So for 1 year, we have to close the account for in that year only.
Is that periodicity? What does periodicity assume?
So like we have to complete one task which has been specified to a particular date, like for a particular time frame.
I think I have listened to all the answers. I have given you a hint also, but I am leaving you without an answer. You should think it more and then make a note of it. Don't write your answer in the chat box, nor you should share with. See, I don't mind you sharing and discussing wherever it is required. I ask you to. But see, in case you answer it, the others will be deprived of thinking. So try. I'll answer, or maybe the answer can come from one of you. But the answer was given by I think by Riza or somebody was partly correct. Now we go to the next question, next part. Where should these be transferred to and why? We have closed these accounts. You have said expenses and income. You have not said why. But assuming it that your answer is correct, they should be closed, and that is correct. Where should these be transferred to?
So capital.
They should be capital will be the second step. They should be transferred to profit and loss account. By transferring revenue and expenses to profit loss account, we will come to know the profit or loss. All expenses on one side, all revenues on the other side. So that is why we call that account as profit and loss account. The account in which we are calculating either profit or loss. So we prepare an account, call it as profit and loss account, transfer expenses and revenue to that account. So that account will look, I'll show you in the next few slides, will be just like a ledger. It will have two sides, debit and credit. To which side you will record expenses, you will transfer expenses?
Debit side.
Debit side.
Yes, debit.
Debit side.
Expenses are debited.
Debit.
And to which side will you record the revenues?
So
credit
side.
Credit side.
Credit side.
Just 1 second. I have received a correct answer. I will not name who sent the correct answer, but I will. Okay, you are instead of answering, instead of typing a message, it will take time. Let me just tell that the answer you have said is correct, but hold it to yourself. Oh, but I am in a soup. There are two answers. One is correct, one is incorrect. How do I convey whose answer is correct? Okay. Anyway, let me spend time with you more. One of the answers is correct. Last accounting. Yes. Okay. So we come back to expenses will be transferred to debit side. Revenue will be transferred to credit side. We will balance that account. When we balance account, what are the possibilities?
Sir, either debit will be more.
Either debit will be more or credit will be more. Either revenues will be more or expenses will be more. Assume that revenue is 100 and expenses are 80. What is the result?
So 20 rupees profit.
So 20 profit.
Which side will this figure appear? Debit
So
side?
on the debit
The
side.
profits are
Profit side in the
profits are
profit and loss
credited
account.
as they
Profits are credited, no doubt, but my question was, which side of this profit loss account will this rupees 20 appear? Debit side, credit side?
So credit side.
So debit side.
So debit side. Debit
Okay,
side.
okay. Now, just write your answer. Should I type the question? Which takes
Yes,
wait,
sir.
hold on. Which
Yes, sir.
side
Yes,
of,
sir.
wait a second, hold on for a second. Let me type. Which side of P&L account will rupees 20 appear? I have explained to you what is 20. Now type your answer with your roll numbers 101 D, 102 C, like this. And don't go by opinion, audience poll or something. Think of it and then write. Good. This is also enough if you are writing 115D, 220C, 304C, 306. Okay. All done. Shall I start explaining now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If debit side, sorry, if credit side total is 100 and debit side total is 80, only then there will be difference of rupees 20. Now, which side of total was more, credit side or debit side?
Credit
So credit side.
Credit
Credit
side.
side.
So in order to balance the account, which side you will write rupees 20?
Debit side.
Debit.
Debit
If you
side.
write, if you write in debit side, only then both side will have 100 total. Although you are writing in debit side, but which balance is this? Is it a debit balance or credit balance?
Credit balance.
Credit balance.
Credit balance. A credit balance in profit loss account means profit or loss?
Profit.
Profit.
Because this credit balance means credit was more than debit. And what do we write in credit side? We write revenues. So revenues were more than expenses. Therefore, this means
Profit was obtained, sir.
profit was
Profit
obtained.
of 20.
Profit of rupees 20. This means you have several things in debit, several things in credit, but don't be confused. If the balancing figure appears in debit side, it means it is a credit balance. And if the balancing figure appears in credit side, it means it is a debit balance. Is that clear to you now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, can you please explain this
Yes.
again?
Okay. Consider, now I am explaining in common language. Consider your revenue side, consider your credit side as plus. Credit side as plus and debit side as minus. So which balance is it? Plus balance or minus balance? Your result will be plus or minus?
Credit balance. Plus, yes, sir.
Plus. Now come to accounting language. Credit means revenue and debit means expenses. So your balance will be revenue or expense?
So revenue.
Revenue. Once again, take a third step. 100 was credit and 80 was debit. Which balance will it be? 100 credit.
So credit balance. Yes, sir.
Credit balance. If you say 100 gold, 80 silver, what will be balance? 20 gold,
20 gold. Yes, sir.
isn't it? 100x, 20y. What will be the balance? Sorry, 100x, 80y. It will be 20x.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Same thing is applicable to debit and credit also. So it is your credit balance, although appearing in debit side.
Debit side. Okay, sir.
If anything else is required, ask me. Otherwise, I'll go to the next step. Once it is done, then where should these be transferred to? This is explained. So once closed, they will have no balances, isn't it? Once all these accounts are closed, we will pass entries. I'll explain to you how to pass their entries. Once closed, they will have no balance and hence will not be carried forward to the next accounting period. Now, which head of the account will be carried forward to the next accounting period?
So assets and liabilities.
Assets, liabilities.
And capital.
Capital as
Liabilities and capital. Because you have already closed 3 out of 5, you have already closed 2. So there are no balances in those 2 accounts. In none of the expense account there's a balance, and none of the revenue account there's a balance. So we know what are revenue accounts, like sales account, interest earn account, etc. What are expenses account? Salaries, rent, etc. So there are no balances. So you will carry forward what remaining asset, capital, liability, and these three you will carry forward. So which accounting convention is guiding you here?
Sir, duality.
Any other? Okay, I'm typing one more question. See, when you answer a question, either right or wrong, it gives me something to explain to you. Suppose you are typing a wrong answer. I'm not evaluating it, not at all. If you are typing a wrong answer, it gives me a thought that you have not understood the concept, and I'll explain to you. But if you are scared of typing, or don't do that. Unless you answer, only then I'll come to know that you have understood it correctly or not. I'm getting lots of answers, but if I switch on to mobile, I'll not be able to concentrate in the classes. I'll take up. I'm getting messages from Tushar, Deepa, and then I have got other messages. I'll take up your messages once the class is over, or as soon as I get time for some other engagements. I'll take up these and will explain to you. Let me come back to the class. I'm typing a question. Expenses and revenue accounts are closed. Which convention guides us? So type your answers by typing your roll number and answers. 101, name of the convention. 102, name of the convention. Again, go by your own opinion, not by जनता की चॉइस क्या कहलाता वो केबीसी में ऑडियंस पोल. Okay, so okay. So which accounting convention has guided you here? It was about the earlier question that I asked. Which heads of the account will be carried forward to the next accounting period? You have correctly answered it. Now we go to the next slide and explain to you further about it. This is preparation of profit loss account. This step I have explained to you, that you will with the example that I gave you, classify all the heads of account as asset, capital, liability, expense, and revenue. Further classify them as direct and indirect. When I say further classify them as direct and indirect, I mean that expenses could be directly proportional to the volume of business or can be indirectly. If the volume of business increases, expenses also increase. So you call them as direct expenses. And if the volume of business remains less, your expenses will also remain less. So they are called as direct expenses. Can you give me some examples of that? What could be a direct expense?
So wages.
Wages.
Salaries, yes.
So purchases.
Wait, hold on. Why salaries would be an example of a direct expense?
So because we are directly paying to people now for their services.
Okay, but do you pay them on the amount of work they do or fixed salary?
So most of the times it is fixed now.
It is fixed.
So sorry to interrupt, but salary is indirect.
Salary is indirect. That was I was about to come to this and explain. How do you pay wages? Wages are paid based on the amount of work done by a worker. You produce
Yes,
one
sir.
piece, you get 10 rupees. You produce 1,000 piece, you will get 10,000 rupees. Does this principle apply to the salaries also? No.
No, sir. No, sir.
The
No, sir.
salaries are indirect expenses and wages are
Direct.
direct. How about rent?
So indirect.
Indirect.
Because
Factory rank.
yes, because irrespective of the volume of business, you will have to pay the same rent. आपने एक बिजनेस बिल्डिंग किराए पे ली है, चाहे आपकी सेल्स 1 रुपए की हो या सेल्स आपकी 1 करोड़ की हो, you will pay the same rent. So like this you can think of examples of direct and indirect. तो आपका पहला स्टेप क्या हुआ? Classify all of them as any of those 5 जो आपको 42 का करना है. You got it?
Yes.
Second, if you have classified 20 as expenses, of those 20 you will write कि 12 are direct and 8 are indirect. Anything that जो भी आपका आंसर होगा वो आपको करना है. So what is the third step? Arrange all expenses and revenues. आपने एक जगह कर लिया, इतने expenses हैं, इतने revenue हैं. So then just one second. I'll take up these messages later. So we arrange all expenses. Then next step, we arrange all assets, capital and liabilities. Write down all assets separately, or at least classify them, all liabilities separately, all capital separately. Then income also in predefined head and expenses also in a predefined head. When I say predefined head, when we come to the company's account, there are schedules prescribed by the government, prescribed by the law enforcement agencies, that all expenses will be classified in these predefined heads, such as they say establishment expenses. Now in the establishment, you will include salaries, you will include wages, you will include this, and they have been classified. Similarly, for assets, they have prescribed the classification. These assets will be called as fixed assets. These will be called as current assets. These will be called as fictitious assets. These will be like this. So for all asset, liability, expenses, and revenue, there is a predefined classification. So we will have to know what are those, and then we will classify the assets. First of all, we should know what are the assets. Then what is it? Is it a current asset or a fixed assets, or like this we will classify, and then we will prepare profit loss account and balance sheet. Profit loss account will have 3 forms, which are appearing on your screen. First is trading account, then profit and loss account, then profit and loss appropriation account. There may or may not be. I'm saying may or may not be. Why? In some of the cases, there will be only one account known as profit and loss account. It could be for a sole trader, it could be for a small business, it could be for the partnership. When we say a manufacturing unit, there can be a trading account also. There can be a manufacturing account also. But in the books, you will find just 2 types of, broadly just 2, trading account and profit and loss account. There can be a profit loss appropriation account also. When we say profit and loss appropriation account, it is prepared in companies where the profit earned is shown as appropriated. How are you making use of the profit? How are you distributing the profit? See, like out of the profit earned, how much taxes have you paid? How much dividend you have given to the shareholders? How much money you have retained for future, etc., etc. So you prepare profit and loss appropriation account. Profit and loss appropriation account. So likewise, it happens, you prepare profit loss account. More important was to know, you see the screen now, we have written preparation of profit loss account from the trial balance. The profit loss account has 3 parts. I have written trading account, profit loss account, profit and loss appropriation account. So in debit side, all direct expenses. Credit side, all direct income. Now the difference between these two will be transferred to profit and loss account. Then we will include all indirect expenses and we will include all indirect incomes. Correct? Difference between these two will be transferred to profit and loss appropriation account. Profit and loss appropriation account. So in profit loss appropriation account, we will write what are we doing with the profits earned, and then we will mention taxes, dividend, etc., etc., and the balancing figure will be transferred to balance sheet. The first step is to prepare the profit loss account. Before you prepare profit loss account, what is necessary to know? That in the trial balance, all those items which are appearing, heads which are appearing, which are expenses, which are revenues, which are assets, which are liabilities. If that is known, then the exercise becomes quite simple. Depending on the nature, you will transfer them to the head of account. Now, if I ask you salaries, where shall you write it?
So P&L
P&L
account.
account.
And which side?
Debit side.
Debit side.
yeah.
I would prefer if the first answer comes from non-commerce student, because for the commerce student it is a cakewalk. They would have transferred the salaries to profit loss account debit side maybe 10 dozen times. Several exercises they would have done. So it is automatically saved in their subconscious mind and they can immediately answer. If I ask you rent, which side should you transfer it to?
Sir,
So debit
indirect
side.
expenses in profit and loss account.
Profit loss account credit side. If the balance in rent account is shown in credit,
So it means it is rent received.
rent received means rent received was more than rent paid. Only then it will have credit balance. Where should it be transferred to?
Debit side, sir.
P&L account, credit side.
P&L account credit side, because it is your indirect income. You will transfer it to debit side if the balance is in debit side. Only then you will transfer it to debit side of profit and loss account. How about interest received?
So credit side, it's a profit for us.
Credit side of profit and loss.
Loss.
Okay. How about wages?
So expense, so it will be a debit.
Debit side.
Direct
Trading
expenses.
account.
Debit side of which
So it will
account?
be in trading account. Trading
It should
account.
be in trading account because it is an
Direct
Direct
expense.
expense.
it is a direct expense. Therefore, it will be transferred to the debit side of trading account. If I say sales,
Trading account.
So
Trading account.
trading account. It will be
is revenue.
Direct income.
It is direct income.
Direct income,
Will be
trading
transferred to credit side of
credit or trading
Trading
account.
account.
trading account. Suppose the balance in sales account is given in debit side, where it will be transferred to?
So loss, because like we have whatever we have sold less than the revenue generated.
Okay. Any other answer?
No, sir, it means that our sales return were more than what we actually sold.
Our sales return was more than what we sold. आपने 100 रुपए का बेचा, 110 का
How did
वापस
you
कर सकते हो?
No, sir, it's not logical, sorry.
और बताइए क्या क्या करेंगे फिर? आपने वो 3 चींटियों वाली कहानी सुनी है? 3 चींटियां हैं, जो नंबर 1 पे है वो कहती है मेरे पीछे 2 चींटियां आ रही हैं, जो नंबर 2 पे है वो कहती है मेरे पीछे भी 3 चींटियां हैं, और जो नंबर 3 पे है वो भी कहती है मेरे पीछे 3 चींटियां हैं। तो क्या सिनेरियो है?
सब गोल गोल घूम रहे हैं।
गोल गोल घूम रही है।
चलिए, ये एजम्पशन आपका मान लीजिए इनकरेक्ट है, वो स्ट्रेट जा रही हैं। गोल में तो पॉसिबिलिटी है स्ट्रेट जा रही हैं। पहली वाली कहती है मेरे पीछे 3 है, दूसरी भी कहती है मेरे पीछे 3 है, तीसरी भी कहती है मेरे पीछे 3 है। तब क्या सिनेरियो?
कैलकुलेशन मिस्टेक।
और all are lying.
और ये भी तो कह सकते हैं ना कि तीनों चीटियां झूठ बोल रही हैं। नहीं कह सकते।
Sorry sir, क्या कह सकते हैं? Could you repeat?
तीनों चीटियां झूठ बोल रही हैं।
सही बात है सर।
सही बात, मतलब झूठ में भी सच है।
ईमान के ऊपर है सर।
ईमान के ऊपर। ईमान को डिफाइन करिए जरा। आप
सर अकाउंटिंग टर्म में रैशनैलिटी।
एक सेकंड, आप ईमान को उन लोगों को बताइए जो ईमान जो ईमान से अलग धर्म रखते हैं। देखिए इसीलिए कहा गया कोई लफ्ज ऐसा मत बोलिए जो बोल के फंस जाए आप। कोई हर्ज नहीं, चलिए छोड़िए, ये तो मजाक की बात है। नाउ कम बैक टू द सेल्स। जो मैंने बताया कि सेल्स का बैलेंस डेबिट है, वो पॉसिबल नहीं है। Certainly accountant has made an error, a serious error, by calculating sales balance in debit side. ये पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है। अगर कोई कहे फर्नीचर का बैलेंस क्रेडिट है, क्या हो सकता? जब भी आप फर्नीचर खरीदेंगे तो डेबिट करेंगे, तो एट बेस्ट फर्नीचर में क्या बैलेंस हो सकता है?
डेबिट
या डेबिट होगा या जीरो
बैलेंस।
नो बैलेंस, बट फर्नीचर का बैलेंस क्रेडिट नहीं हो सकता। इसी सूरत से एक्सपेंसेस का बैलेंस क्या डेबिट हो सकता है? एक्सपेंसेस का बैलेंस क्या डेबिट हो सकता है?
डेबिट ही होता है उनका।
हाँ, तो डेबिट ही होगा।
डेबिट ही होता
मैं ये सोच रहा था कि आपका जवाब ऐसे होगा साहब, नहीं, क्योंकि मैं सब इसी अंदाज से नेगेटिव को दो नेगेटिव यूज कर रहा था ना। तो एग्जाम में कभी कभी एक दो सवाल ऐसे भी होंगे कि जिसमें आप देखिए, आपके जहन में क्या था कि मैं ये कहूंगा एक्सपेंस का बैलेंस क्या क्रेडिट हो सकता है, तो आपका जवाब ये होता कि नहीं हो सकता। लेकिन मैंने क्या कहा, क्या एक्सपेंसेस का बैलेंस डेबिट हो सकता है? एक्सपेंसेस का बैलेंस डेबिट ही होगा।
होता है।
रेवेन्यू का बैलेंस क्या क्रेडिट हो सकता है?
सो उसका बैलेंस क्रेडिट ही होता है।
क्रेडिट ही होता है, yes sir।
लाइबिलिटी का बैलेंस क्या डेबिट हो सकता है? अब मत कहिएगा कि लाइबिलिटी का बैलेंस तो डेबिट ही होता है।
नो सर।
राइट। तो प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड जो है आपकी वो जरूरी है। अब हमने क्या किया कि वी हैव क्लासिफाइड all the heads of account into 5. We have totaled them for our convenience so that we can check. You keep your assignment ready. I'll tell you what is to be done. Once we have classified them, we have posted them in the respective places. Once we post them in the respective places, what happens? We look, एक second, something is wrong with the screen. Okay, when we do so, no, not this one. Okay, this one. One second. Okay, so we will fill in the figures in profit loss account, and we will fill in the figures in a balance sheet also. Do you see the balance sheet on the screen now?
Yes sir.
Yes sir।
Yes, sir.
You see the figures. I'll take up this in detail later, but what I have written here, on the right side you have got assets, on the left side you have got capital and liabilities. So you are writing assets in different classification, like fixed assets, current assets, fictitious assets. Liabilities you are writing on different assets, liabilities you are writing on different side. Okay. I think I have received several questions from you. So I'll post them in the group also, and answer also I'll post in the group so that everybody, I will forward them in the group, and then I'll answer all in the group, so that instead of it goes to the benefit of individual, you all will read them and then suggest if something is wrong there. So you will write. Yes
Sir, actually you asked the question, right, that which accounting convention were we using while carrying forward only assets, liabilities and
but hold on to your answer. If you are suggesting an answer, hold on to your answer, or if you wish to suggest something else, you can.
No sir, actually we gave varied answers in the text box and you said that the answers are correct, so I don't know which answer is correct.
No, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Correct answer I'll explain to you, but if you have correct answer with you, just hold on. I'll explain why is it this concept and why is it not. For example, somebody has written continuity, isn't it? So I'll explain to you why continuity is not a correct answer. Somebody has written conservatism, so I'll explain to you why conservatism is not. Therefore, so that the confusion that was related to the continuity or conservatism can be clarified. All right, so we classify all of them into these and then convert them into profit loss account and balance sheet. At the end, what happens? Both sides of balance sheet should be
Equal.
Matched.
Both sides of balance sheet should match. Assets should have total which is equal to liabilities and capital. Now, how is it mathematically balanced? This is mathematically balanced. See, you had 5 heads of account. isn't it? 5 broad classifications. So all expense and revenues, you total them and you took out the difference. Suppose that difference was profit. So profit will be added to capital. And if there was a loss, it will be subtracted from capital. As a result, effect of those account has been incorporated in the capital, either by adding or by subtracting. Only then your equation will be balanced. Asset will be equal to capital plus liabilities. If you continue with original capital, there will be a difference. Why there will be a difference? Because the expense and revenue accounts net effect has not been incorporated. So you consider the profit and loss account, you consider revenue and expenses. Difference between the two will either be R or E. Excess of R over E or excess of E over R. Whatever is the result, take it to the capital. If there is a revenue, you add it, and if there is a loss, you subtract it. Why should we add revenue to capital?
So because it will increase the capital revenue.
It will increase the capital. When was it discussed? Can somebody recall? We were discussing accounting.
Sir, initially the profit that we obtain is also added to the capital because we use it for the development of the company.
It is fine.
It's an accounting equation.
Yes, it is fine so far as ordinary language goes. But when you talk about accounting language, that somebody has rightly said accounting equation. Don't you recollect that we said expenses reduce capital and income increases capital. Revenue
yes, sir.
increases capital. In our analysis, overall revenue was more than overall expenses. So there was R more than E. So if R is more than E, ultimately R, so means it is a profit. Profit is increasing your capital, and increase in capital is credited. So your equation will once again become A is equal to C plus L. All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So the equation of capital is wrong. It should be 1 plus 3 minus 2.
So say, okay, what is written in the, what is appearing in the slide? Are you referring to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 1 plus 2 minus 3.
1 minus drawing plus net profit. 1 minus 2 plus 3. You are right. 1 minus 2 plus 3. I appreciate that. 1 minus 2 plus 3. Yes, this is correct. Capital, you subtract drawings. I have changed it. Do you see the changed one now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You see the changed one. 1 minus 2 plus 3. So from capital, if there are drawings, drawing means the amount of money which businessmen withdraw from business during the accounting period. Usually it happens in sole trading business. The sole trader introduces 1 lakh rupees. During the day, he took out 5,000 rupees for his personal use. So this is known as drawings. So it is subtracted and net profit is added. What happens in the company? Are drawings possible in case of a company? My last question in the chat box. Are drawing possible in case of a company? When I say company, I always mean limited company. Write your roll number and Y or N. So it is not Janta's choice. Every alternate number is either Y or N. No. No Y. Okay. Now, those of you, has everybody mentioned? Shall I come up with some hint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those of you who have written no should think again. Suppose you have invested money. 294 Gulshan Kumar is writing yes in case they provide fringe benefit. अब आप पहले इन लोगों को fringe benefit explain कीजिए. Fringe benefit क्या होते हैं भाई? हाँ भाई गुलशन कुमार, क्या होते हैं fringe benefit?
Sir, fringe benefits are those benefits which are provided to.
अरे ये बताओ पहले, तुम्हारी तबीयत तो ठीक है बिल्कुल?
क्या?
तुम्हारी तबीयत बिल्कुल ठीक है?
I'm fine, sir.
हाँ, काढ़ा वाड़ा पीते रहना भाई, अच्छा?
Yeah, sure, sir.
हाँ चलो ठीक है, अब वैसे क्लास का टाइम खत्म हो रहा है, आपसे सब everybody should write and we will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I have already announced for the this one compensatory class for. Has everybody written yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You can join